Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Had Yugioh Godly Power movie. Before we start, please go support Angel Gonzalez 753 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Issei is a male. In ancient times there were 3 gods who sowed factions, including the dragon gods themselves. These had such beastly power that the help of all high-caliber beings such as Zeus, Odin and even Shiva was required to stop them and enclose them in human forms to free themselves from their terrible actions but terrible problems. Isseixharem. Chapter 1 The Power of the Gods. Since the beginning of time there have been supernatural beings and humans. The latter had always lived deceived by the supernaturals who kept their existence hidden for their protection, but recently they were all harmed by beings known as the Colossi, gigantic beings that destroyed everything in their path. No place was safe since after a while the Colossus disappeared and reappeared after a while, and no matter the efforts of all the factions and the human race, these beings could not be brought down. The latest news informs us that the Colossi continue on their way, destroying everything in their path. No effort, both supernatural and human, has borne fruit in bringing them down. Both worlds have decided to unite to defeat them, and the last thing left is to wait for our inevitable death. In Famundo Castillo Gremory. We see the leaders of each supernatural faction and a kind of screen showing the headquarters of the United Nations UN. They all had a look of concern and seriousness. Sirzich. As everyone knows, the Colossi are getting closer to other cities that we have already begun to evacuate, he said heavily. Isaka. I can't believe that none of our efforts have worked, she said annoyed. The England. You said it yourselves, your composition makes you almost indestructible, he said seriously. Azazel. That's right, and we only have 2 options. Hide or die, he said with fear, scaring everyone. Serafol. And what cities will be attacked, he said sadly. Mexico, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Alexandria in Egypt, the city of Lilith, the third heaven in Athens, Greece, he said seriously. Michael. I see, the best thing would be to see how the evacuations go, he said sadly. Odin. What about the celestial dragons? He said seriously. Sirzich. They refuse to fight, they are cowards. My sister regrets having reincarnated the Sekiro, he said annoyed. Azazel. I still can't believe that Vali, who claimed to be the strongest Hakuryuku, acted like a coward, he said seriously. Dioses. I think this meeting is concluded. He could not continue because a voice interrupted them. Zeus. Wait, there is still a solution, he shouted, confusing everyone. Shiva. What are you talking about? He said incredulously. Azazel. Are you serious? What is it? He said hopefully. Zeus. Free the Egyptians, he said seriously. Odin. You're crazy, annoyed scream. The Argentina. As the Egyptians also exist, why did they never talk about them? He said seriously. Shiva. They are monsters, they are not the gods that Anubis, Amon, Seth and others know, they are simple henchmen under their command. Those 3 were ruthless, bloodthirsty beings who always wanted to fight, he said scared. Sirzich's power was really so mountainous, he said curiously. The India. You don't know them, he said seriously. Serafol. We only heard legends about them, but we never saw them, she said thoughtfully. Odin. Well, those 3 were lucky, they fought the dragon gods and were able to win, but it was when we decided to attack Shiva, Zeus, God and I, with a little help from the dragon gods, were able to trap them in human forms and lock them in 3 different places, he said scared. The Japan. And they think they can be our solution, he said curiously. Odin. If they don't understand, the only thing they will do is kill us, he said scared. Sirzich. What if we talk to them, he said scared. Zeus. It doesn't cost anything to try. Tartarus, Greek underworld. We see yellow-eyed brown chained with different seals on each chain of its body. Issei. Are you listening, brothers? He said seriously. 7th heaven. In a strange room there was an albino with red eyes levitating, preventing his mobility. Video. I'm listening, Ra, tell me what's going on. South Pole, Antarctica. We see a dark-haired boy with blue eyes frozen in the deepest part of the ice. Gustav. It's been more than 10,000 years without communicating with us, what's happening now? He said seriously. Issei. Both the human and supernatural worlds are going through a threat that is driving them to despair, he said, speaking mentally to the other 2. Gustav. And what does that have to do with us? He said seriously. Video. Soon their options will run out and they will have no choice but to turn to us, he said seriously, but with a big smile. Issei. That's right, soon we'll be free. The Cult Club. We can see a redeed watching the news, seeing the tragedy that plagued all factions. The Keno. Laugh now, don't complain, you know that no one can do anything to stop them, she said sadly. Riaz. I know, but because they don't want to fight they are cowards. I can't believe that bastard is part of my family, my entourage, she said sadly. The Keno. Yes, I know we were all surprised that both celestial dragons were so cowardly, even Mr. Derrig and Albion feel ashamed of having those bearers, she said with some annoyance. Rias. By the way, where is the useless one? She said something with disgust. Akeno. He's probably at home lazing around, she said angrily. Rias. Hey Akeno, do you think someone would love us for who we are and not for our bodies? She said sadly. Akeno. I don't know, laugh, I don't know. Tartarus Greek underworld. We see all the faction leaders in front of a brown-haired man with chains. They were all extremely nervous while the brown-haired man was smiling mockingly. Issei. Oh but look who we have here, little Zeus, there is Odin who is getting older, and who are the new ones, he said amused. Zeus. It's been a while Ra, he said somewhat nervously. Issei. Hey why so nervous, we are not friends, he said calmly. Odin. Stop joking around Ra, we're not here for that, he said seriously. Issei. Oh, how bitter you seem, age has taken its toll on you. If only they could keep you as preserved as I do, you would surely have a better character, he said amused while the Nordic man's vein throbbed in his head. Sirzich. Please stop playing God Ra, we are in a very critical situation, and we need your help. Issei. And who is this tomato? He said curiously. Sirzich. Ah forgive my indiscretion, I am Sirzich Gremory current Mao Lucifer, he said embarrassed bowing. Issei. Wow, another Mao Lucifer, I guess the other one is dead, well, how sad, why do they want me, he said seriously. Michael. Ha, there are some unknown beings called Colossi, and nothing harms them, even Ouroboros office and Great Red were able to hurt just one, he said nervously. I see. Wow, the eldest son of Yahweh, hey where is the old man, he said curiously. Odin. Concentrate, will you? He said angrily. Issei. Yes, it's okay, beings that can't be defeated even by the dragon gods, it's interesting, very interesting, and I suppose they turn to me to save them, right? He said seriously. Zeus. Yes, what are you saying, he said nervously. Issei. No, he said seriously, leaving the leaders in shock. Azazel. But why if you and your brothers will be free, he said upset. Issei. Hey calm down, it was a joke, don't get upset, he said upset. Sirzich. That means, he said somewhat excitedly as three strange silhouettes appeared behind the brown-haired boy. Issei. We will help them. Freeing the gods. Zeus fearfully approached the chains that had captured the brown-haired boy, who looked at him calmly before the fearful sight of the other leaders. Issei. Will you hurry up, this is boring me, he said seriously. Zeus. Of course, he said removing a seal. At that moment the brown-haired boy's gaze changed to that of a madman as he stretched the chains to break them. Everyone looked in terror at the boy in front of them as he had a terrifying smile and his hair covered his eyes. Issei. Wow, those were chains, listen, next time don't squeeze them so hard, it really costs a lot when it itches, he said smiling like a child while everyone fell to the ground due to the sudden change in the chestnut except Odin, who remained alert. Sirzich. Well now I think we should go get his brothers, right? He said nervously. Issei. It won't be necessary, he said snapping his fingers as two circles appeared above him. Two screams were heard, and after a few seconds a black-haired man and an albino man fell heavily to one side of the brown-haired man. Issei. Hey guys, they're here, he said amused. Gustav. Do that again and I'll kill you, he said furiously while holding the brown-haired boy by the neck. Yugioh. Okay, calm down, put this little accident aside and concentrate, we are free now, he said, trying to calm the atmosphere. Issei. It's true, we are free, he said celebrating with his friends. So the three of them started shaking their heads at the same time, leaving all the leaders with a WTF face who didn't understand what they were doing. Isaka. But what's wrong with them? She said confused. Odin. Okay, enough of your stupidity, he said furiously while the boys stopped shaking their heads. Yugioh. You old party pooper, he said mockingly. Gustav. Yes, and for what purpose exactly did they free us? He said curiously. Issei. They say there are new beings that not even the dragon gods could defeat, he said calmly. Gustav. And since no one and nothing can stop them, they turn to us, ironically, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, but guys, this is good. We will finally have someone to fight without holding back. Finally, a worthy opponent, he said, raising his fist decisively. Gustav. But you know that we were locked up for centuries, now the world and the factions are totally different from the one we inhabit, he said seriously. Issei. True, I hadn't thought about that. Hey, you're new Lucifer. Could you ask some demons to show us what the world is like? He said seriously. Sirzich. Me and me because, he said curiously. Issei. I didn't like you, you have a siskin face, and I didn't like you, he said calmly. Azazel. Sirzich, don't be stupid. The more they like us, the luckier we will be in not being killed by them, he said nervously. Sirzich. You're right Lord Ra, if I can get them 3 high-class demons to show them how the world is currently he said nervously. Issei. Perfect and a home unless he couldn't continue because 3 beings appeared in front of them. Anubis. Father, they're back, said a woman with dog ears looking at the blue-haired man. Gustav. I see you had fun with our kingdom while we were locked up he said seriously. Isis. Dude, that's not true. We took over the faction in his absence, said a very beautiful woman. Issei. It's a great effort, Iris, to place yourself at the top of the faction he said seriously, looking at the girl. Yugioh. And what did you do, daughter? He said, looking at the last girl. Horus. I guard the Egyptian sky in your name she said nervously looking down. Azazel. The Egyptian gods are female he said incredulously. Issei. Didn't they know? He said curiously. All the leaders shook their heads while the boys had a drop of sweat on their heads. Issei this will be fun. The next day. Underworld Gremory Castle. The leaders could be seen together with the presidents of each country and 3 girls waiting for the Egyptian gods. Issei. Hey what's up he said entering with his companions. The USA. These are the most powerful beings he said amazed. The Venezuela. They look like 3 teenage clowns he said seriously. Michael. Well could you please be more respectful with the Egyptian gods he said nervously. Issei. So we are 3 clowns, I feel offended, send me back to Tartarus, I don't want to help you anymore he said feigning sadness. Surzich. No please Mr. Ra forgive this little lack of respect, it will not happen again he said nervously. Issei. It's okay, but only because you asked me not because of that idiot who dared to offend me he said seriously. Yugioh. Well Mao Lucifer could tell us who the demons will be that will keep us company he said curiously. Surzich. Yes, here they are my sister Rhea's Gremory he said pointing at the redeed. Surzich. Next is the sister of the Mao Leviathan Sona Sitri he said, showing a black-haired girl with glasses. Surzich. And finally the heiress Agares Sikvera Agares he said, pointing to a blonde with red eyes. The 3 of them. Nice to meet the Egyptian gods they said in unison while bowing. Issei. It's also a pleasure for us to meet you and we hope to be able to live together in he couldn't finish because a door opened revealing an albino and a brown-haired boy with smug faces. Azazel. What are you doing here? He said annoyed. Ali. We heard that a meeting was opening and how can one be held without the presence of the 2 celestial dragons, said the albino arrogantly. Kazuma. That's right and why do you bow down to these 3 imbeciles? Said a brown-haired boy with arrogance. Everyone paled at the brown-haired man's words because they knew that this put all the factions in danger and that they could no longer count on the help of the gods. Issei. But look who we have here, our beloved lapdogs Drake and Albion, why didn't they come to say hello? He said with amusement, surprising the boys. Drake. You nice to see you Mr. R.A., Mr. Obelisk and Mr. Osiris no, we didn't know you had been released he said nervously appearing on the brown-haired boy's arm, surprising him. Albion. If not we didn't know. Forgive our incompetence and forgive the attitude of these idiots, they don't know how to behave, he said the same as the other, but this one appeared in a kind of wings behind the albino. Ali. But what the hell is wrong with you Albion, why do you behave like this with simple souls? He couldn't continue because a black-haired boy moved at high speed, hitting him in the abdomen. Gustav. Your attitude is tiring me brat, you better behave or else I'll rip your head off he said coldly, surprising everyone. Surzich. When did it move he couldn't continue because there was a loud bang that made everyone move their heads to the window seeing a creature in the distance. Issei. Is that it? He said curiously. Surzich. A colossus. A titanic demonstration. Everyone shuddered at the sight of the colossus attacking the city, some even began to sweat at the sight. Issei. So that's a colossus, wow, its appearance is strange he said curiously. Kazuma. What the hell are you talking about? We should run away while we have the chance he said scared. Yugioh. You really have the power of the Red Dragon Emperor and yet you are still afraid, how pathetic said the albino coldly. Ali. What the hell are you talking about? The dragon gods could not do anything to him. Do you think we could? Nervous shout. Issei. Cowards he said without further ado. Surzich. The city is already being evacuated he said nervously. Issei. Well, this way we won't worry about the innocents and who of the 3 will fight? He said curiously. Kazuma. Do you really think you can fight those things? You're crazy he said scared. Issei. Shut up and let us act he said seriously while the 3 began to do rock paper scissors. Gustav. Great, I won he said amused while the boys had paper and scissors. Issei. Go have fun he said calmly as the black-haired man left through the window. Azazel. Only one of you will go are you sure? You shouldn't all 3 go to be safer he said curious and nervous. Issei. Calm down, Crow, we know when to act as a team and when not to, so relax, love you, he said seriously, while a screen showed an image of the Colossus, as if it were a reporter. Reporter. We are here reporting for all factions and the entire world, as predicted, one of the Colossi has appeared in the city of Lilith in the underworld. We can only expect the worst and hope that no one gets hurt, and wait a second, or a person is running in the direction of the Colossus, but what kind of madman is this? He doesn't know what's happening. Most likely, he'll be dead in no time. Everyone was watching the broadcast, some shared the reporter's thoughts, while very few had hope that the black-haired man could defeat the Colossus. Gustav. Come on, stupid creature, show me what you got, he said amused. The creature looked at him and after a few seconds launched a powerful blow with its hammer, crushing the place where the boy was, leaving great destruction and crushing the little hope there was. Reporter. There you have it, people, because the power of the Colossi should not be taken lightly, she said seriously. Kazuma. There you have it, he was a complete idiot, all he did was waste his life like an idiot, he said seriously, while all the leaders looked at each other. Issei. Why don't you tell him now when he comes, he said seriously. Kazuma. What the hell are you talking about? Don't you see that it's already dead? He couldn't continue because everything started to get blurry. There he is. Ra-sama, what's going on, she said confused. Issei. That obelisk is already angry, he said amused. Everyone saw how a great light illuminated the city of Lilith and the sky broke, revealing an imposing blue creature accompanied by thunder and lightning. Sizich. Boo, but what is that, he said terrified as he felt a beastly pressure all over the place, so much so that it was difficult to breathe. Issei. That's obelisk in its true form, he said seriously. Everyone looked in terror and amazement at the imposing blue being. Obelisk. Come on, trash, show me what you're capable of, he said, ramming it hard, sending it flying, destroying a couple of mountains in the process. Reporter. This is incredible, the boy has become this helpless creature, he said in disbelief as people in all factions and the world regained hope. While everyone was watching this, the Colossus tried to stand up by leaning on a mountain, but this was taken advantage of by the god, who threw himself on his back, hanging from his head and beginning to hit him. Something like that. Just think that the second kaiju was a mountain. Obelisk. You know something, this is boring me. I thought you would be stronger, he said seriously, hitting him on the head, sending him to the ground. Issei. He's going to finish him off, he said confidently. There he is. Are you sure? She said nervously. Yugioh. Don't worry, he said, never doubt us. Obelisk. Fist of fury screams, throwing a punch covered in thunder. Ooh. A strong blow hit him squarely as the titan lost his head and his body fell lifeless before turning into mist and slowly disappearing, leaving everyone in shock. Reporter. I did it, she said stunned. Leaders. I did it, said in disbelief. Issei. I did it, he said confidently. Obelisk. I did it, this is the power of Obelisk the Tormentor, he said forcefully, while everyone began to celebrate the victory. At that moment it began to glow and return to its human form, and seconds later the leaders appeared along with their companions. Issei. That was amazing, he said calmly. Yugioh. Although you almost caused a massive heart attack when you received that blow, he said seriously. Gustav. Haha, I wanted to give it a little excitement that maybe wasn't possible, he said amused. Issei. Whatever, the important thing is that you defeated him, right? He said seriously. Gustav. Yes, I know, although I must admit that it is very resistant, although it was not what I expected, he said calmly. Reporter. Excuse me, who are you and why are you so powerful? She said nervously with the camera focused on the black-haired man. Gustav. You could be more careful if you want me to answer all your questions, he said seriously. Reporter. Yes, I'm sorry. Could you tell me who you are and why you've never introduced yourself until now? She said seriously. Gustav. My name is Obelisk the Tormentor. I belong to the 3 Egyptian gods, beings who are above the dragon gods, and here are my brothers and companions, he said, holding the brown-haired and the albino. Reporter. I see now why they have never been there to help us, why they acted until now, she said a little more seriously. Issei. I will answer that question first of all. I am the winged dragon of Ra, the leader of the Egyptian gods, and well, we were considered a danger in ancient times by other leaders like Zeus and Shiva, which is why we were locked up in different prisons for a long time, until they suffered the attacks of these colossi, and they called us to defeat them, he said seriously. Reporter. I see, and you are here to save us, she said hopefully. Issei. Of course we are here, for he could not continue because a voice interrupted him. I can't believe those cowards freed them out of fear, said a voice above them, which made everyone look in that direction, seeing a gothic loli with an expressionless look. Isseixharem's office. Strain. Everyone could feel the great tension that was in the entire place, as the 3 Egyptian gods looked with a sadistic smile at the dragon goddess of infinity Ouroboros' office. Issei. What's wrong Ouroboros, are you still upset because we kicked your asses? He said amused. Office. Silence, I'm not here to fight. I came to see who was the idiot who made the absurd decision to free them, she said seriously. Issei. That doesn't matter to you and you better get out of here or maybe you want to die, he said seriously, releasing a little of his power. Gustav. No, wait, let him bring his pathetic little friends. I want to crush a certain lizard from the apocalypse, he said seriously, cracking his knuckles. Yugioh. And don't forget that idiot Big Red, I'll show him who is the most powerful red dragon of all, he said seriously. Zeus. Please gods, you don't have to fight. You just defeated the first Colossus. We should celebrate your victory, he said, somewhat nervous about the situation. Issei. You're right, it's not time to humiliate the lizard gods, he said mockingly. Office. Nobody leaves here until they say who freed them, she said seriously. Issei. Office, you are not here to demand anything, so you better calm down a bit and leave, he said seriously, while the three silhouettes of the gods appeared behind the boys, making the goddess sweat. Office. We're not done yet, she said seriously, rising into the air and leaving. So everyone went to the Gremory mansion while all the factions and all the races celebrated the victory and could feel more calm since they finally had hoped to defeat those cursed creatures. 2 days later. The boys were in front of an imposing mansion while Laridid looked at them somewhat nervously, waiting for them to speak. Riaz. Well, what do you think of your new home? She said nervously. Issei. It's quite big, I like it, he said calmly. Gustav. It's a little big for just the three of us, isn't it? He said curiously. Yugioh. For me, she is worthy of someone of our stature, he said nonchalantly. Riaz. Boo, well actually Sona, Sekiro and I will also live here, she said nervously. Issei. I see, I don't see any problem, and you guys, he said carefree, looking at his companions who shook their heads. Riaz. I'm glad, let's go. Do you think so? She said calmly, starting to walk, followed by the gods. So the three gods were given a tour of the entire hunt, being impressed by all the luxuries they had, although they did not understand how some of the latest technology devices worked because of all the time they spent locked up. But in the end, Riaz took them to a gigantic, completely empty, illuminated basement. Riaz. Ra-sama, if it's not too much trouble, why did you ask for this room? She said curiously and respectfully. Issei. Call me Issei, he said calmly, looking at the place while the girl looked at him confused. Riaz. How? She said confused. Issei. Yes, as long as it's not a meeting or something important, tell me. Issei was a man that I decided to create, he said calmly. Riaz. I see, and you also created different names, she said curiously. Gustav. Yes, I am Gustav, he said calmly. Yugioh. And mine is Yugioh, he said nonchalantly. Riaz. I see, thanks for the information, she said calmly. Issei. Well, to answer your question, this will be a training area, he said calmly, as the three raised their hands and the room was covered in a purple hue, and seconds later the room looked the same. Riaz. What happened, she said confused. Issei. The barrier is ready, look, fire and attack with your great power, he said calmly, while the doubtful Riti charged her power of destruction and threw it with everything against the wall. Riaz. Not even a scratch, she said incredulously, seeing the intact wall. Issei. Exactly, that's what we did. This invisible barrier can withstand the power of two of us fighting at their maximum power, but if the three of us fight the barrier will fall very quickly, he said calmly. Riaz. You guys are amazing. Dimensional gap. We see the goddess of infinity sitting in the infinite place where she was, and seconds later a gigantic red dragon appeared. Big Red. What do you want, Ouroboros? He said seriously, looking at the lowly. Office. You're pretty calm knowing that those bastards are free, she said angrily. Gr. And what do you want me to do? We are not capable of defeating them even if Trihexa were free, he said seriously. Office. So you're not going to do anything, she said annoyed. Gr. You want me to remember why this war between us and them broke out, he said angrily. Office. I don't know what you're talking about, she said looking away. Gr. Well, I will remind you that you made us fight because the idiot Ra rejected you, he said furiously. Office. That's a lie, she said angrily. Gr. Of course, don't play dumb. I spoke to his daughters and they told me that you declared your love to him and he said he wasn't interested. Curiously, it was the same day that you were attacked by the Egyptians and you asked Trihexa and me for help to get revenge for his rejection. Or am I wrong? Office. And what's past is past, we continue in conflicts between them and us, she said angrily. Gr. You don't understand, you created all this madness, and the worst thing is that you ruined Trihexa's life, he said angrily. Office. What the hell are you talking about? She said angrily. Gr. What am I talking about? Trihexa loved Obelisco, but when you arrived that day she changed and let her feelings die angry shout, leaving Office Island. Office. Trihexa and she loved him. Residence of the gods. We see Issei and Yugioh training in the living room, while the black-haired boy sadly looked at a photograph of a blonde woman with dragon touches. Gustav. This time one of the two will die for good. Issei. Hey Obelisk, do you want to make a change, he said curiously while they stopped the battle. Gustav. Don't go on, I'll take a walk, he said walking to the exit. Issei. It's okay, don't get lost, he said calmly. Thus the brown-haired boy resumed the battle, while the black-haired boy left the room very thoughtful, while he accidentally collided with someone. Sona. Ah, screamed while losing her balance. Stav. Be careful, he said moving quickly holding her, preventing her from falling, leaving her in a somewhat peculiar position. Sona. I'm sorry, I should have noticed, she said nervously without taking her eyes off the black-haired boy. Gustav. No, it wasn't my mistake. I didn't pay attention. I'm really sorry, he said sadly. Sekiro. What's going on here? She said curiously looking at the two. Gustav. Nah, nothing, Miss Agers, nothing, he said nervously, regaining his posture and leaving. Sona. What just happened? Training dragons. Days have passed and the girls have moved to the new residence, and Sekiro has enrolled in the academy, while the boys are getting used to the new world, and each one has been discovering new methods to entertain themselves. An example is Issei with anime, Gustav with video games, and Yugioh with robotics. Issei. Hey guys, what are you doing, he said curiously looking at his friends in the room. Gustav. Nothing, god of the cave, he said calmly. Issei. God of the cave, what are you talking about, he said confused. Yugioh. Dude, today is Monday. You spent the last 2 days in your room. We thought you were dead. He said incredulously. Issei. Really, time flies by so fast, he said with a drop of sweat on his head. Gustav. When have you seen an anime? He said curiously. Issei. Not many, he said nervously. Gustav. Now talk about how many animes you watched, he said with a raised eyebrow. Issei 24 said looking away. Yugioh 24 dude, you're crazy, he said in amazement. Issei. No, I don't think so, he said nonchalantly. Yugioh. Well, the girls will be here soon, so you better take a bath, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, I'm coming, he said going up the stairs. Gustav. He is really crazy. Academia Kuo. We see Rias leaving the place with the other two heiresses while they were talking about different things. Rias. So Yugioh-san wants you to help him with his robotics project, she said curiously looking at the blonde. Sekiro. Yes, I know, I never thought I would find someone with the same excitement about robotics as me, he said happily. Rias. Yes, I was also surprised, although I am worried that Issei-san has not left his room these last 2 days, she said worriedly. Sekiro. Don't worry, maybe it's something you have to do, like God, maybe in a few days Gustav-san and Yugioh-san will do it too, she said thoughtfully. Rias. Maybe it's what you think, she said curiously. Sona. Oh, sorry, she said confused, looking at the redeed. Sekiro. Hey Sona, are you okay? You've been very distracted these last few days. Something's wrong? She said curiously. Sona. No, it's nothing, don't worry, she said nervously. Rias. Sure, you can tell us anything, she said calmly. Sona. I'm sure not couldn't continue because someone spoke. Kazuma. There they go running to the feet of those stupid gods, the brown-haired boy spoke angrily. Rias. Now what the hell is wrong with you? Said the redeed angrily. Ali. That all of you are pathetic hitches who, like the idiot leaders, are like their faithful pets of those idiots, as if they were the big thing, he said seriously appearing behind a tree. Sekiro. What the hell are you talking about? All you say is pure nonsense. They are offering us their help and protection against the beings that scare you shitless, which she said seriously, making the two boys angry. Ali. Shut up, Hitch, you should all cheer for us, we are the celestial dragons, beings with could not continue because someone spoke. Issei. Beings with arrogance and arrogance greater than that of Eskener, but unlike him you are simple vermin that could not kill a fly, he said seriously behind them with his friends. Rias. Issei-san, she said in disbelief. Issei. Hi Rias, we came to look for you since you were taking a while, he said calmly. Gustav. I see why these idiots were holding them, he said seriously looking at the two carriers. Sona. We are sorry gods, you shouldn't have worried about us, she said sadly. Issei. You don't have to apologize, we asked Lucifer for his help and at least we should look out for his well-being, right? He said calmly, surprising the girls. Yugioh. Well, changing the subject a bit, he said seriously, disappearing from everyone's sight. Ali. Ah, he screamed as he was smashed into the floor while the other albino stepped on his head. Yugioh. Now I give you 3 seconds to apologize to all the ladies for calling them hitches, and especially an apology to Miss Isseixharem for having called her a bore, he said, seriously putting more pressure on the albino's head. Kazuma. Damn you, he couldn't continue because a chestnut sent him to the ground with a kick. Issei. You better not put garbage in there, he said seriously. Ali. I will not apologize, everything I said is true, you are nothing, they should serve us, not you, damn it, he could not continue because the albino grabbed him by the head and slammed him into the ground. Yugioh. You know, we met your ancestor, the first Lucifer, and he had exceptional power, and what do you think, he still knelt before us? Now we expect from you a pathetic piece of shit that doesn't even come close to him, he said seriously, throwing him into the air. Issei. Riaz-chan, tell us how important these two are in the factions, he said seriously. Kazuma. What are you up to? He said nervously. Issei. Riaz answers, he said seriously. Riaz. Well, because of having the celestial dragons, they were placed as pillars of the factions, but in itself they only cause problems, she said nervously. Issei. I see, then we don't need you anymore, he said, raising his hand and activating blue flames burning the boy. Kazuma. Ah damn, you know, no, forgive me please, Nuu screams in horror, being completely burned. Issei. One less come, he said coldly while holding 8 pawn pieces in his hands and a red sphere was floating. Riaz. That's how easy it was to finish him off. It took us so long to get rid of him and he exterminated him so easily, she said in disbelief. Issei. Hey lizard, can you hear me? He said seriously. Greg. Yes sir Ra, he said nervously. Issei. Now you are in debt to me and that is why I will give you a new body and I want you to take care of Riaz and the others, understood, he said seriously. Greg. Yes sir, and I will carry out your orders diligently, he said seriously as he began to shine, taking on a new appearance. Ali. You are monsters, he said terrified, activating his armor and running away in terror. Gustav. He's mine, he said jumping with great force. Albion. You realize that you have no escape, right? He said seriously from the wings. Ali. Shut up, it won't help me, he couldn't continue because he felt something go through his chest while looking at some thunder. Something like that. Gustav. I told you at the meeting, you got on my nerves, he said seriously while applying more force in his attack. Ali. No I don't, he couldn't continue because his life ended and Albion left his body. Albion. Obelisk Sama, I could also receive the same treatment as Drake, he said nervously. Gustav. Okay, but don't forget the mission, take care of the girls, he said seriously. Albion understood, he said seriously, taking his new form. Riaz. Issei-san, thank you very much, she said bowing. Issei. Riaz, you don't have to thank them, they deserved it, he said calmly with his big smile. Riaz. I know, but the truth is that they had us tired, they were a real pain in the ass, she said relieved. Issei. Well, that doesn't matter, now we can go back home, he said holding his stomach. Riaz. Issei-san, are you hungry, she said curiously. Issei. I've been in my room for 2 days and I haven't eaten anything, he said sadly. Riaz. Well, let's go, I'll prepare some, she couldn't continue because an alarm started ringing. Issei. What's going on, he said confused. Rhea. A new colossus. The heavenly dragon. The boys were surprised by what had just been said since a new enemy was about to appear. Issei. Seriously, where, he said curiously. Riaz. Let me see you, he said curiously. Iridid invoked a magic circle as she began to talk to someone while they explained to her and she nodded and finally ended the call. Issei. Well, where will it be? He said curiously. Riaz. Alexandria, Egypt, she said seriously. Issei. How wonderful. Alexandria, Egypt. People ran away from the place in terror because they knew that one of those monstrous beings would appear and they would not be safe if they stayed. Reporter. Hello to all of our viewers from all over the world or from any faction, we are in Alexandria, Egypt, where a new colossus will appear. We do not know what it is, fear is normal, these things have caused a lot of damage since their arrival, but now we have our hopes placed on the Egyptian gods, who have defeated one of them, and hopefully they can defeat this one too, and here they are, she said hopefully while the cameraman turned and focused on a magic circle from which the 3 girls emerged with the gods. While the army and the few people left began to cheer them on. Issei. This is how a god is received, it is clear that he is our people, he said, greeting the people. Riaz. Well, we just have to wait for it to appear, she said nervously. Issei. Correct, now go find a safe place, he said seriously, while the girls nodded and left from there. Gustav. This time who will fight, he said curiously. Video. I think we should see the enemy first to get an idea of who would be the most suitable to fight with him, he said thoughtfully, as the 3 of them went deeper into the desert. Issei. Yes, I think it's for the best, it will be more like this, ah, he screamed as he saw a creature come out from under the ground, creating a mini tremor that sent them to the ground while the creature rose into the air. Issei. Ahhh, what a scary thing, he shouted angrily, standing up. Gustav. Hey giant creature with you, there are 3 of us who managed to scare RA, good job, funny shout, raising his thumb. Video. It's thinner than the other but much bigger, he said, looking at the creature. Reporter. The Colossus has finally appeared. It is an imposing creature. It is a Colossus that we had not seen before. I don't know if that is good or bad, but from what I see, the Egyptian gods are very eager to fight against it, she said curiously, watching how the brown-haired man was held by the black-haired man. Issei. Obelisk, let me go, I'm going to break your face, no one can do that to me and come out alive, let me go, he said angrily, while kicking like a little child. Gustav, please calm down, we won't do things like this, he said, trying to calm him down. Video. I'll go, he said seriously as he started walking. Issei. No, Osiris, that bastard will pay for this, he said angrily. Video. Hey, calm down, you act like a 1,500-year-old god. Relax. Besides, I think I'm the one, he said while taking a big leap into the sky. Reporter. Lord Osiris seems to have been chosen to fight him, she said while the camera saw the boy climb to the top. Sekiro. Osiris, take care, he said distressed. At that moment the white-haired man disappeared from everyone's sight and at the same time the sky darkened and lightning began to appear. Reporter. No, I don't know what's going on, boo, a strange creature is hiding in the cloud, she said nervously while the camera focused on a strange red thing with a black underside. Issei. Puff conceited, he said amused. Gustav. You already know him, he doesn't play with the enemy, he said calmly while the god made himself present. Reporter. Incredible, Lord Osiris has appeared in his god form. He is a gigantic dragon, she said, stunned. Osiris. Grower here roared loudly while creating strong gusts of wind as the Colossus looked at him. Brag Albion. The true celestial dragon, they said in unison. Quickly the Colossus launched itself with great speed, attacking Osiris and pushing him, but the red dragon did not flinch and, beginning to exert force, the dragon managed to impose itself, commanding and turning this into a struggle to see who would prevail over the other. Osiris. Come on Colossus, show me what you got, he said seriously, ending the clash to wrap himself around his body and begin to strangle the Colossus. Issei. I'm sure he doesn't like to have fun, he said curiously. Gustav. I don't know, he's not like that, he said curiously. Osiris, who had the Colossus at his mercy, did not stop his attack and began to rise into the sky until he reached the mesosphere and began to plummet with the being attached to his body. Reporter. We don't know what's happening, but we've lost sight of the god and the Colossus, and wait a second, Osiris's nose dropping with the Colossus holding him like a meteorite, excited shout. I see Gustav. He's going to crash it, they thought incredulously. Osiris. Get down, he shouted seriously as he unrolled and released the Colossus, rising with difficulty while the Colossus was unable to take flight, crashing hard against the ground. Reporter. Impressive, the god Osiris uses his superior size to carry out a complicated but devastating attack, she said excitedly. Osiris. It's your end, explode, he shouted, speaking from his mouth, launching a powerful attack. The attack hit the body of the Colossus, who tried to rise, sending him back to the ground, but this time lifeless. Everyone saw how the Colossus fell dead across the desert, ending this battle, while the people jumped and celebrated with joy. Sekiro. That dimensional gap. We see the 2 dragon gods watching the battle with some displeasure, more office than great red. Gr. It was good, he said seriously. Office. How the hell can you say that? He said angrily. Gr. Stop complaining, they are beating those things, he said seriously. Office. Whatever, she said angrily, leaving. Gr. Where are you going? He said curiously. Office. Liberate the Thehexa. Behind the Colossi. Everyone was celebrating after the victory over another Colossus in the hands of the celestial dragon Osiris, who descended taking his human form and was received by his companions and the 3 demons. Issei. That was amazing, great job, he said calmly. Video. It's not that bad, he said scratching his head. Gustav. You're joking, what you did was really crazy, he said, amused. Sekiro. Idio-san, they are right, don't take away the merit of their performance, it was fabulous, she said happily. Idio, thank you very much for your words, he said somewhat nervously. Issei. Okay, let's go home, I have friends. He remained silent while the 3 of them became serious and stood in front of the girls, surprising everyone. Rias. Issei-san, what's wrong, she said while looking at the boys very seriously. Reporter. We don't know what's happening, but the 3 gods have suddenly changed their attitude. We don't know why, but we can think that something bad is happening, she said somewhat scared. At that moment the day disappeared and night came so suddenly that it scared many people, but that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that a red moon rose high in the sky. Rias. What's happening, she said, scared. Issei. Something is coming, he said seriously. At that moment, a thunderclap fell a few meters in front of their position, raising a light curtain of smoke that dissipated somewhat quickly, and 6 strange black beings with different shapes could be seen who only stared at the gods. Wow, wow, until someone could stand up to our beautiful creatures, said the being that was in the middle of the beings. Issei. Who are you? He said seriously as he took a step forward. Pardon my manners, Egyptian gods, we are the Black Knights, he said seriously, while the 6 bowed. Rias. Issei-san knows them, she said nervously. I doubt they know us, we are as old as time itself, we were born from darkness, and we live in the dark zone, this beautiful place that you see around you, he said calmly while extending his arms. Gustav. You said that they stood up to your beautiful creatures, you created the Colossi, he said seriously. That's right, our beauties are beings that sow darkness in their world at a specific point to allow us to enter and dominate everything, he said seriously. Issei. And you think we're going to let them do whatever they want as they please, he said seriously as he raised his power and a golden aura emerged from him. Well, we want to see that. After all, half of your planet was covered in darkness in the time it took you to fight, he said seriously, showing how a large part of the planet was covered in darkness. Sona. It can't be, she said scared. At the first carelessness and our arrival in this world will be fulfilled. Good luck, he said seriously while he disappeared, and with him the world returned to normal. Issei. Ah, the brown-haired boy fell to his knees while breathing heavily. Rias. Issei-san is fine, she said as she went to help him. Dust of those things emanate an overwhelming power, he said somewhat nervously. Yugioh. Dark Knights, I've never heard of anything like that, he said nervously. Sona. Gods are fine, she said distressed. Issei. No, we are not. These beings could defeat us, he said seriously while looking at everyone. Rias. Issei-san sure, she said scared. Issei. We need answers, he said as he quickly stood up. Yugioh. Let's go, he said seriously as the 3 of them disappeared at high speed. Rias. What will happen now? Underworld, unknown location. In a remote part of the underworld we can see a gothic loli standing in front of a large mountain that when in front of it a strange seal began to flicker while the girl kept a cold gaze, joining several artifacts that when joined together invoked the seal that slowly began to crack. Crashh. Office. The time has come, she said seriously as she watched the seal break and the top of the mountain fill with fire and from it an imposing 3-headed creature emerge. Trahixa cry I roared loudly as the whole place shook. Office. Welcome, Trahixa. Lilith City faction meeting. At the meeting we can see the leaders quite nervous about what had just happened to the boys, since they did not know the consequences that these strange beings could cause to their world, and the most nervous was Zeus since out of fear, he did not say the idea of the Egyptians before. Sirzich. This is bad. If those beings are released, we don't know if the Egyptians can fight them, he said nervously. Azazel. Yes, we know, but what can we do if they got upset when we were facing them? I'm sure that their power is beyond our reach and only they will be able to confront them. We would only be a hindrance, he said distressed. Isaka. But we can't just sit there doing nothing, we have to find a way to help them, she said seriously. Odin. But Yusaka, how can we do it? He said, head down. Zeus. Whatever it is that removes the darkness, I don't know what you think, Michael, he said nervously. Michael. Their names sound familiar to me. I think my father knew what they were, but he didn't know he couldn't continue because something shook his body, and seconds later a great power accompanied by a great roar shook the room. Isaka. But what the heck is that? She said nervously because of the great power she felt. It was not comparable to that of the gods, but it was alarming. Sirzich. It will be another Colossus, he said nervously. Odin. Impossible, they have never given 2 attacks in a row, he said nervously. Azazel. And since we are so sure that it is not the work of those beings, what if he couldn't continue because Michael spoke? Michael. It's not a Colossus, but it's something equally dangerous, he said pale. Zeus. Michael, how are you so sure? He said while all the leaders looked at him. Michael. Well, because it's the Trahixa. Tartarus Greek underworld. We see the 3 Egyptians arriving at the place where Issei was held prisoner, not wasting time reaching a specific place. Yugioh. Issei, are you sure, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, he is the only being older than us, he said seriously. Gustav. If the biblical god is dead, it is certain that he is now the oldest being of all, he said seriously. Issei. We're already here, we can't take it back, right? He said seriously. Gustav. Yugioh. True, they said seriously while the brown-haired boy looked at a certain place. Issei. Hello, Kronos. The menace of the Dark Ones. The place remained silent as the 3 gods looked at the father of the Olympians who remained lying in his rock prison, staring at them with a smug smile, making the boys become more serious than they already were. Kronos. It's been a while, Egyptians, how is your life outside this prison? He said seriously. Issei. I'm sorry, we're not on a friendly visit. We want to know if you know anything about certain beings, he said seriously. Kronos. Because I should do it, he said seriously. Gustav. Remember, Kronos, you owe us one, and it's time to settle debts, he said seriously. Yugioh. Oh, you already forgot who helped you kill Uranus and then get rid of Gaia, he said with annoyance. Kronos. Okay, that's what you want to know, he said seriously. Issei. They call themselves the Dark Knights, do you know who or what they are? He said seriously while crossing his arms. Kronos. Dark Knights, that's how I remember my father telling me about them. Yes, I remember it clearly, he said while remembering Uranus's words. Uranus. A long time ago, longer than time itself, 7 extremely powerful beings ruled the dark dimension, a place full of loneliness where nothing can live or exist. They seek the entrance to other dimensions to sow darkness and death. They already tried to enter our world, and their power was overwhelming to the point that to prevent their arrival, the biblical god Yahweh, the god Kram and I had to form a mega team to defeat them. You may ask, well, not simply to repel them. I hope you never have the destiny of facing them, Kronos. The Titan finished reciting the words he told them back then, while the boys turned pale, since the beings who dealt with the Dark Ones were not weak beings in the least, they were among the most powerful that have ever walked the planet throughout history. Issei, thanks for the information, he said with difficulty, since Han could not assimilate what he had just heard. Gustav, it would be best if we left, he said, somewhat shocked as the three of them began to walk towards the exit. Kronos. Good luck, you'll need it. Underworld. All the leaders were in panic as they called their troops, since one of the greatest threats in this world had just been released, the beast of the apocalypse, the Trihexa, who could be seen from the city of Lilith, and the most important thing was its enormous power. Azazel. This is madness, we will never be able to beat him, he said scared. Michael. He's right, we don't have enough power to confront him, he said nervously. Odin. Who the hell could have freed him if Ifrizavam has not spoken since the appearance of the Colossi, he said frustrated. Sirzich. If only we had the help of the Egyptian gods, but since the encounter with those strange beings there is no trace of them, he said worriedly. Isaka. They must have their reasons for disappearing like that, you said it yourselves, they look nervous, worried after seeing them, she said nervously. Riaz. Nai-sama, she's right. They left and said they would look for answers, she said nervously. Greg. Now we are free and we will help in the battle, he said seriously next to Albion. Albion. You are right, we have a mission to protect them, and we will fulfill it, even if it costs us our lives, he said seriously as he looked at the three heiresses, surprising the leaders. Gabriel. Nai-sama, most of our troops are ready for battle, they are just waiting for orders, she said nervously. Michael. The time has come. While the armies were getting ready in the distance, the Trihexa, who was stretching after his confinement, stared at the goddess of infinity, who remained with her expressionless face, while levitating in front of the imposing dragon, who did not understand why she was there. Trihexa. What are you doing here? She said somewhat annoyed. Office. This is how you thank the person who freed you, you are so ungrateful, she said with her typical tone of voice. Trihexa. You freed me because, she said seriously but somewhat confused. Office. They were released, she said seriously. Trihexa. You mean them, he said bitterly. Office. That's how it is for the Egyptians, he said without changing his serious tone. Trihexa. But like those who freed them, she said confused. Office. The current leaders of the factions, there is a threat in this world, some beings that not even we could defeat, and out of cowardice, they went to them, she said angrily. Trihexa. Wait, beings that not even you and Big Red could defeat, are they really that strong? She said incredulously. Office. I'm afraid so, but that's not the problem. We have to act. We have to stop, he couldn't continue because a roar interrupted him. Big Red. Grew. Trihexa. Oh, it seems that someone is in a bad mood, she said mockingly. Office. You are nobody to tell me what I should do, Red. If you don't want to fight, it's your problem, she said annoyed. Gr. Really, just because I didn't want to fight, I have no say in your stupidities, he said angrily. Trihexa. Oh, it seems that in the end you became an Egyptian dog, she said annoyed. Gr. Shut up, if you don't know how things are, don't talk, he said seriously. Trihexa. What are you talking about? She said confused. Office. It's nothing, let's go, we have things to, he couldn't continue because Big Red spoke. Gr. You haven't told him the truth, he said coldly. Trihexa. What a thing, he said seriously. Office. You're welcome, she said nervously. Gr. Haha, seriously, you're welcome, tell him that this stupid fight between us and them was caused by the rejection that Ra made you, he said mockingly, while Trihexa was surprised. Trihexa. Ouroboros, what Red said is true, he said while his power and anger increased. Office. Well, the truth is that she couldn't continue because a voice spoke behind them. Issei. Seriously, all that was because I told you it wasn't serious, he said while the three levitated behind the dragons. Gr. Egyptians, he said seriously. Issei. Hello Red, he said while looking at the dream dragon. Trihexa obelisk, she said hurt. Gustav. Hello Trix, he said with his arms crossed. Office. What the hell are you doing here? She said nervously. Issei. We have something very urgent to tell you, he said seriously. Gr. What a thing, he said seriously. Issei. We need your help. Untitled Part 9. The three dragons looked at the three Egyptians in astonishment after Issei's words, since after monstrous battles and conflicts throughout the ages, the Egyptians had come before them to ask for their help. Gr. Are you serious or is it some kind of joke, he said stunned. Issei. I look like I'm joking, he said seriously. Gustav. The situation we are in is quite complicated, so if we could hurry up, I'm serious. Trihexa. Well, that's what they discovered, she said a little nervously, seeing the seriousness of the three. Issei. That our world may cease to exist. After saying that they could see how the leaders of the factions came with a large army behind them, ready to face the beast of the apocalypse, but they were quite surprised to see the Egyptians standing in front of the three dragon gods. Zeus. What's going on here? He said confused looking at the six gods. Issei. Lucifer, how good, I need you and the others to lead. What are you doing with all those people? He said curiously. Michael. We came to face the Trihexa, he said nervously, seeing the three-headed beast. Issei. We don't have time for that, we have to have a meeting, he said seriously while regaining his serious posture. Azazel. But sir, let the Trihexa pass, he said nervously. Yugioh. This problem concerns us all, so they have to come too, he said seriously, surprising everyone. Zeus. Oh okay, we will hold the meeting here in the underworld, he said somewhat nervously. 20 minutes later. We can see all the leaders sitting in a large room in the Gremory castle with the three Egyptians. Well, they looked at two strange individuals, a man and a woman, but when they felt their powers, they realized that they were Great Red and Trihexa, surprising most when they learned that the beast of the apocalypse was female. Odin. I never imagined that the Trihexa was a dragon, he said something curious. Trihexa. Any problems, old man? Don't forget that I'm still the beast of the apocalypse, he said raising his power, shaking everyone. Gustav. Enough, we are not happy to be doing this stupidity. He raised his power and his voice, while everyone remained silent. Issei. Thank you, my friend. Well, this sudden meeting was because we have discovered who or what those beings that appeared in Egypt are, he said seriously. Zeus. And from the look on his face it's not anything good, right? He said nervously. Issei. That's right, thanks to your father Kronos we discovered that they are beings older than Uranus, and that they have always represented a risk for this and other worlds, that they try to cover with their darkness, he said, while everyone began to sweat cold. Rias. But you can face them, no, you can defeat them, right? She said, somewhat scared. Issei. This time don't laugh, Kronos told us that Uranus along with Chromo and the biblical god faced the dark knights managing to seal them in their dimension, and if we look at power levels we individually are a little stronger than the biblical god, but to defeat Uranus we had to fight the three of us along with Kronos, and we better not even talk about Crom, he said while lowering his head in clear frustration. Michael. They are saying that there is no way to defeat those beings, he said trembling with fear like most of the leaders. Yugioh. The only thing left for us is to battle with their creatures and prevent the planet from being covered in darkness, enough to let them in, he said with resignation. Gr. Then even if we joined forces we could not defeat them, he said seriously. Issei. I really don't know, we could admit him, but we would also need the help of Kronos and Saturn, he said seriously. Zeus. They think it could work. Roman culture has always remained isolated, and my father and Saturn hate each other to death for being the sovereigns of time, he said nervously. Issei. Oh, is it the Union or is it fighting against the creatures, he said seriously. Office. I object, she said seriously. Issei. What the hell, he said with a raised eyebrow. Office. I don't care about the destruction of this world, I will never make an alliance with you, she said seriously. Issei, Ouroboros, enough, how can you be so selfish? You do all this for the past. Let me tell you. You act like a girl. Please leave that in the past. How can you say that everyone's lives, including yours, do not matter to you? Shouted angrily. Office. Please, now you care about people, don't make me laugh. In the past you and those idiots liked to see how their people made sacrifices in their name, and you yourselves killed innocent people for fun, so don't come to me with that nonsense, she said seriously. Issei. That's what I mean, I know what I did in the past, I know I committed many atrocious unforgivable acts, but now I have the opportunity to remedy them, and together with my companions, we will give our lives to save the innocent, because unlike you, I know how to recognize my mistakes, he said seriously looking at Office, who remained silent. I think it would be best to deal with this at another time, since he couldn't continue because someone interrupted him. Isaka. It can't be, he said in shock. Azazel. Yusaka, what's wrong, he said confused while everyone looked at the yokai leader. Isaka. 4 colossi are about to appear in Argentina, Berlin, Ku and Tokyo, she said nervously. Issei. 4 altered cry. Gustav. This is not good, if we let one of them run loose, it could be the end, he said nervously. Video. Then how will we stop him? He said nervously. The office. It seems that this will be all, he said coldly. Trihiksa. If we help, he said looking at Big Red. Issei. I don't know, they can be stronger than the previous ones, he said nervously. Video. Issei, wait, we could use it, he said seriously. Surzich. What is Slifer-sama talking about? He said confused. Gustav. But what idiots, is it true we could use it, he said seriously. But who are they talking about? He said without understanding like the others. The 3 gods closed their eyes and stretched their arms so that their chest began to glow, and 5 pieces similar to Issei's rock came out. Only 1 came out that looked like a chest and a head from Gustav, 2 came out, a leg and a right arm, and from Yugioh came out the same as Gustav, only that they were the left side, and at that moment, the pieces came together and formed a strange rock being. Rias. What is that? She said confused. Issei. It's Exodia, the Forbidden One. Battles around the world a half. Everyone looked at the strange statue that the 3 Egyptians had summoned and did not know if it was enough to defeat a colossus, but the gaze of the gods gave them some security since they were serious but with determination in their gaze. Rias. How strong is Exodia, she said curiously. Issei. It's hard to know depending on the strength we give it, he said seriously. Sona. Let's give it to him, you give it to him, she said impressed. Gustav. That's correct, but since it's an alarming situation, I think it should be the 3 of us, he said seriously. Well, the 3 of them stretched out their arms, and with the help of their other arm, they made a cut in the veins. Sekiro. Yugioh-sama, what are you doing, she said upset like everyone else. Yugioh. With this we are giving him part of our power, he said calmly, while the 3 of them poured the blood on the statue. I see, Gustav. Yugioh. We, your creators, who give you life and strength, call upon you to rise once more for combat and leave your gods in pride. Rise, Exodia the Forbidden, the 3 said in unison, manifesting their aura. Everyone saw how the statue began to absorb the blood and began to shine with the aura of the 3 of them. Seconds later, it began to disappear in a magic circle and the boy's wound healed quickly. Issei. That's it now, let's split up. Exodia will go to Ku and we will, he said seriously. Gustav. I'll go to Tokyo, he said without hesitation. Yugioh. I'm going to Berlin, he said calmly. Issei. Then I will go to Argentina, he said seriously. Rias. Good luck to the 3 of you, she said somewhat nervously. Issei. Rias, I have to ask you a favor, he said seriously. Rias. Yes, of course, tell me, she said curiously. Issei. Exodia needs to be controlled and I want you to do it, he said seriously, showing a strange object in the shape of a key or a strange cross. Rias. I see, Sama, she said nervously. Issei. You are stronger than you think, and I know you can do it, he said, giving her a kiss on the forehead, surprising everyone, but bothering a certain gothic loli. Gustav. Yes, let's go, he said as the 3 of them left in magic circles. Surzich. Rias, are you okay, he said curiously. Rias. Yes, I'm fine, let's go, Drag. We have to fulfill Issei-sen's wishes, she said, creating a magic circle, while Drag followed her. Sona. Don't even think you're going alone, she said as she and Sekiro entered the circle with Albion. Surzich. You're welcome. Berlin, Germany. We see the albino appearing in the center of the city as he watched people evacuate and the soldiers greeted him, seeing how tremors began to become more frequent and he smiled to show how something on 4 legs appeared in the distance. Yugioh. Wow, what a strange colossus, he said, seeing a strange humanoid being with a large pillar as an arm. Yugioh. This will be fun. Tokyo, Japan. People were already evacuating the place where the fight would take place, while they were helped by some members of the army, and the rest of the soldiers were getting into different positions ready for anything, but with some nerves that disappeared when they saw a magic circle from which the black-haired man emerged quite calm. Gustav. General, we know which is the Colossus, he said curiously. General. Negative, we know that he is already in the city, but we still haven't been able to. He couldn't continue because a building that was a few meters away from his position fell and from the rubble a strange crustacean-looking creature emerged. Gustav, this has gotten interesting. Corrientes, Argentina. People did everything they could to evacuate the city, some hoping that at any moment an Egyptian god would make an appearance. This hope was fulfilled when they saw the chestnut tree emerge from the sky, falling in front of a group of people who began to cheer his name while he greeted one or another child. Issei. They really love me, he said, amused. Commander. Sir, good to see you, he said somewhat nervously. Issei. Greetings, Commander, any sign of the Colossus, he said curiously. Commander. Fixed signal, no sirrah, the only thing we know is that it is a flyer, he said seriously. Issei Volvator. Wow, how interesting. He couldn't continue because a loud roar that shook the sky was heard in the distance. Pape. Sir, southwest direction, he said pointing with his finger, causing everyone to look in that direction, revealing a colossus shaped like a bird but much larger. Issei. It's time to play. Who city? We see the three heiresses appearing on top of a wall, watching a large number of people walking on the outskirts of the city, while others stared at them, which left the girl somewhat confused. Rias. Something's wrong, she said nervously. Man X. Where are the gods, he said seriously. Rias. Well, there were multiple threats around the world, and they had to go and address those threats, she said nervously as the people looked at her. Woman X. So they abandoned us, they are going to let us die, she said while people began to get upset. Sekiro. That's not true, she said nervously. Lex. Of course it's true, they don't care about us, she said indignantly. Boy X. They are such bastards, how could they do this to us? He said the same as the girl while more people complained. Sona. Shut your damn mouth, how can you say that about those beings who are breaking their souls to protect their damn asses if they went to other places to fight, but that doesn't mean that they left them unprotected, they sent a great warrior to fight, but you bunch of idiots can't listen, she screamed upset, leaving everyone silent and the other heiresses quite surprised. Greg. That was impressive, he said somewhat surprised. Sona. That's what they think, she said somewhat embarrassed. Rias. Of course you did well, she said hugging her friend. Sekiro. I admit it was great, he said raising his thumb while Albion nodded. Military. Here it comes, he said nervously while everyone got very nervous. Albion. It's quite big, he said seeing a colossus with a giant hammer. Rias. Well, the time has come, she said nervously taking out the key that Issei gave her. Greg. Come on Gremory, Ra-sama trusts you, he said seriously. Rias. Come here Exodia, she said with determination as the key began to shine and in front of it, a star appeared from which a strange creature with the appearance of the statue that the god showed began to emerge. Greg. It's huge, he said incredulously. Rias. Come on Exodia, defeat him. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.